Welcome back to Let's Not Sugarcoat It. Season 3 is here and we're excited to dive into the core of communication, relationships, and leadership.
We're your hosts, Bella and Lee, a husband and wife duo with a successful business helping couples and organizations get it together to play a bigger game and elevate their relationships and performance.
We believe in keeping it real, so each week we'll bring you incredible guests, entrepreneurs sharing their authentic experiences, along with episodes featuring just the two of us tackling the tough topics.
So, if you're ready to enhance your connections and sharpen your leadership skills, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
I think it's like a utopian thing. Sorry, one sec. With the shared responsibilities, because generally women are still paid less than men. So when a child is sick, when something happens, guess who's taking the time off? Because we are not our positions are not as valued, or we don't bring as much income. So you go home and you stay with the children. So then we are being penalized for having children because our careers don't grow as quickly because we need to take time off to have the children, take care of the children. So I know in the States, it's about 3 months for maternity leave. In Canada is a year, right? And some can extend it to about a year and a half. So that's less pay, less income. A lot of men are like, well, you're on vacation. I had twin girls. How am I on vacation? I'm up 24/7. My husband was amazing in helping out, but he did travel for work, right? So we had an understanding, we had a mutual respect of our roles in our house. And I did take a step back because I couldn't function with twin girls and go back and do full-time what I used to do, right?
So yeah, a couple things. I think talking about society as the benchmark, if we take a look at history, doesn't serve us well, right?
No,
because if we base things off of what's acceptable in society, then things are okay until they're not, right? And then the future generations are paying for, slavery as an example. Well, at the time of slavery, it was okay until it wasn't, right? Yeah. And that was a society thing.
Yeah.
And so the equality, I believe, is, a lot less on trying to create a society that accepts certain things and more about equality in voice, equality in communication, because it means that in a relationship, let's start there. Let's have a conversation around what actually, because 1 second, is what really fills most buckets of most humans is being in service, right? And being in service of other people, of something bigger. And so you want to be in service of, your spouse, of the person that sits across from you. And if there's something that I want you to do, right? But it doesn't fill your bucket, but you go ahead and do it anyway, because you're just pleasing me. I think that down the road is what gets you into those toxic relationships, where if I say I want you to do, like you were talking about making dinner, right? So if my expectation is every time I come home, or even when I am home, but you cook dinner 90% of the time, which is true anyway.
I love cooking. So.
Right. But that's the thing. She loves cooking. Yeah. Now, if it was, she doesn't like cooking, but then she communicates that to me, now it creates the ability to have a conversation around, oh, okay, well, I want you to be happy. And if that's not a thing, let's come up with, maybe we find out, oh, I love cooking, which I don't necessarily, I like it sometimes. So then it would be, okay, well, let's come up with a schedule of how often do you cook? How often do I cook? How often do we go out for dinner? And then this way, you're not putting the needs of somebody else ahead of yours. So it's that, to me, you talked about it, Stephen, communication. We talk about it all the time, but I think we talk about equality. It's a quality of voice. Because I'm a man, it doesn't mean that what I have to say is any more or less important than a woman.
Listen.
And vice versa.
That's true. But the dad voice sure gets this house orderly, because when mama is yapping, it's out in one ear, out the other, right? So, I'm just kidding.
So but that's just how nature has it, right? The woman is more nurturing and the father is the patriarch. generally speaking, that doesn't actually be that way for everybody, but that's generally considered natural. And with the cooking thing, nobody wants to eat my food anyway. No, I'm kidding. That's not the point. The point is, you don't know how you're going to feel when you get back from work, right?
Yeah.
So when you get back from work, you could say, do you feel like cooking tonight? No. Okay, well, neither do I. So let's go out, right? Or, oh, okay, I'll cook tonight then. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to necessarily be in stone of what you're going to do. But like, you said, Lee, it's about communication, right? That's all it is. But we were just not taught how to communicate as kids, right?
Even as adults.
As adults, yeah. But it starts with being a kid, right? If you're taught the right way as a kid, you're more likely to do that when you're an adult. Once you've been taught the wrong way as a kid, it's a lot harder to change it as an adult because you start to think, no, this is the way it is. This is the way it's got to be. And you become more stuck in your old habits or old beliefs because you tend to follow how you're raised, right? Tend to, right? So, I mean, we've kind of messed things up a little bit, right? But I'm always optimistic. I think the pendulum will swing back, right? Like a pendulum swings. It doesn't go from here to the middle, right? It goes backwards and forwards, right? Until you find a back or a center. So we're in a process right now where, and this is reflected in everything in society, right? Everything is so unstable. We don't even know who we're going to be at war with tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, to extreme, right? You know what I mean? Could be anybody. We don't know.
Right.
And so our lives are, us in the macro as in the micro, right? Our lives are like, which is why it's even more important to have a strong relationship, strong marriage, whatever it is, right? It's even more important. And unfortunately, again, unless you're doing programs like yours that help people understand these things, it's hard how do you figure it out, right? How do you figure it out? It's not easy, right? Trial and error, which is not a good way to go. I've done that. So I'm definitely, I've been married 4 times and I still didn't get it right.
Right. So I'm like, trial and error, as long as you're learning from your mistakes or your learning, that's it. And taking those learning and changing your habits and changing your actions, because we always say knowledge is nothing without the action. So you can know this is your pattern, yet still do it. So
absolutely,
and doing a completely and changing habits is quite hard, as we know. The bad habits are quick to acquire, hard to change. The good habits are hard to acquire.
And fortunately quick to change.
Yes.
Right.
Did you guys ever agree on how many days it takes to change a habit?
I don't know. I said 21 one time, 25. I don't know. I think it all depends on the habit.
I remember watching you guys and you were talking about that. Is it 21 days?
21? I don't know. Depends. Like I said, it all depends. It all depends on the habit and how hard it is for you. Right? Because let's say cooking at home for me, if somebody wanted to change and eat more at home, for me, that habit, my gosh, it's easy. No problem. But getting up at 5:30 to go to the gym, that may take a little bit longer. But once it's there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, the thing is, I think part of it, and I think you'd both agree, is how committed you are to actually changing the habit, right? So sometimes we say, I'm not going to do that, but we're not really committed to going through what it takes to change that, right? But when we are, we'll do it, right? When it's important, what do they say? When it's if it's important enough to you, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
How important it is, how much is it a must versus, a maybe, right? Or maybe someday.
Yeah.
But then I think the other part to it is when you shift from focusing on the external, right? So bad things are happening to me, or my life isn't going the way that I want it to go, or, I'm, have put on too much weight, whatever it is. If you're focusing on situations and you're focusing on people for why your life is the way that it is, and or the reason why you can't change, then change will always either never happen, or if it does, it'll just be, for a short period of time and you'll go back. It's when you start, we say put the magnifying glass down and pick up the mirror. That's when you really start to see, as you've been talking about a bit, the kind of the darker sides right, of your belief system that drives those bad habits, then you can figure out, oh, now I need to stack good habits, on top of those bad habits. And then eventually, next thing you know.
Sometimes the bad habits just leave because the body says, no, this is one thing I love about perimenopause, when the body says, no more wine for you. And then I drink more wine,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That increases the desire to make the change, right? I was just writing down that. That was a great thing you just said that. I love that. When you put down the magnifying glass and you pick up the mirror, that's a great line there. I'm going to steal that. Just, if you hear me say it, I got it from you. I'll give you credit, right?
He's full of those quotes and fun facts. I don't even know how he remembers half of the things. He reads so much and he just comes up with these one-liners or these things. And it's a gift you have, my darling. I've never called you that. You're my darling.
Well, it's like, I remember with Tony Robbins, right? I think I mentioned I used to work with him, right? He would pick up things in a second, right? So I remember he was about to go on stage. We were talking backstage and I just listened to something. I've just been watching a video or a seminar. I can't remember that guy's name. And he said that I believe that coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. Pretty cool. So I told Tony that. I said, I just heard this quote, coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. He went on stage within 5 minutes. He said, coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. And I thought, wow, do you see what I mean? It's like you learn something and use it.
Yeah.
Use it, right? Because sometimes we hear all these things and know we should do certain things, but we don't apply it. Yeah. So he's a genius anyway, but he was just good at taking information and then applying it right away, which is, it's important.
Yeah.
That's a definite skill you have, babe. I've always said, no, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well,
I've always said a lot of things and I'm just going to keep it to myself right now.
But that shows you got a healthy relationship. Very good.
Yeah. Well, it's been 20 years. So,
20 years? Oh my God.
20 years together. Yeah. It's going to be 18 years married, 21 together this coming September. And, let me
tell you. So what's the secret?
What's the secret? Always growing together.
Yeah, because a lot of people grow apart, don't they? A lot of people grow apart. They get interested in one thing and the spouse not interested. Yeah. And you're going to grow apart. I mean, you don't have to do everything they do, but at least be interested. Right.
Yeah, be curious. That's the big one. Just be curious. Yeah, and ask a lot of questions. Be curious. Ask the question. Communication is key. I mean, let me tell you, we have had our share of ups and downs, and we did almost separate, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. But we did the work. We, again, put down the mic. That's the one from that time. Put down the magnifying glass and look in the mirror. Yeah. And when we look in the mirror, the reflection didn't come back as beautiful as we've painted ourselves to be. Yeah. And that's when we started doing the work, and that's what brought us back together.
Yeah. Usually we're talking about trial and error. I like metaphors a lot. And so, when we hit a rock bottom, that's when we find out the rock bottom is full of mirrors, right? It's like falling into a cave. And then that's when you look around and everywhere you look, all you see is you. That's it.
Yeah. Right? And that happens very often. I can't say that always, but very often because you've been looking at everybody else but yourself. Yeah. And it's not until there's nobody else to look at, that you're on your own, you're alone, that then you can stop. Yeah.
Yeah. And so communication, clarity, right? That's a huge thing. So when earlier we're talking about equality of voice, it was really just getting clear on her wants, my wants, and doing that in such a way where we're not trying to please. I think sometimes what do I want? Okay, well, if I say I want, I want to live in other places. Well, what if she doesn't really like that? Okay, well then maybe I won't say what it is that I want, right? In that moment, that dialogue, you are, not living into your wants and your needs and your desires. And so we got really clear on that. And it really helped define some of the things that, were really overlapping for us and where some of those things are not. And where they're not is completely okay, because we are completely different human beings. And what that does is create the opportunity for us to now have a discussion on how do we support each other and live into those things where we differ, instead of feeling like we have to let those things go somewhere else and kind of die, right? We can bring them and breathe some life into them. And then a huge part of that, you mentioned it in the number 2 part when you were talking about kind of shame and stuff, which is the discomfort piece, is in communication. A lot of the things that need to be talked about don't, because we avoid discomfort. And so that was a big one, is especially for me, was really leaning into discomfort to have that dialogue and create that clarity. Yeah.
I had no problem with leaning into discomfort.
Again, I don't know if this is true, but my experience has been that women are better at leaning into discomfort than men, generally speaking, right? Because they're more practical. Men are scared of women to a large degree. They don't want to upset their woman, right? It's like a guy's job is to keep his wife happy, happy wife, happy life, right? But sometimes women do that well. Let me give you an example here, right? So I remember having this conversation with my wife, and
one, just kidding.
Pretty old. Well, actually, all of them. All right, you got me. All right. So anyway, so I would say, does it matter which one? I'm just kidding, right? So I would say, let's go out for dinner, and she'd say, okay, and then say, well, where do you want to go? And she'd go, I don't know, anywhere. And I would say, I genuinely wanted to go where she wanted to go because I didn't care, right? But then she would say to me, why can't you just make arrangements, book the dinner, and we'll go there? Because that tends to be, not always, what the woman wants is for the guy to make arrangements and take her somewhere. I didn't realize that until my wife explained it to me. And I went, oh, okay, we're going to McDonald's.
Because
I made the decision. What's wrong?
Yeah. Well, I like, you just take her to a members only, place for dinner, like Costco.
Right. Yeah. And it keeps the riffraff out.
That's right. No, but it's true, because a lot of we have, especially when we have children, right? We have many schedules. We're planning this, we're planning that.
Yeah.
Vacations. I sometimes don't want to be still thinking about where I need to go, where I need to, think of that.
Yeah.
I just want him to take care of me, because when I'm in my masculine, and that's the big one, is a lot of women are right now in their masculine energy, and we're meant to be in our masculine when we're up to something, we're doing, we're focused, but then we're meant to be in our feminine, where we are being nurtured, we are being taken care of, and allowing the men to be in his masculine, which is taking care of the woman, right?
Yeah. That example you talk about is something we're laughing, because we do that all the time as well, where we're going to go out somewhere, and I will say, or when we're traveling and we have to go out and eat somewhere, and she'll be like, so where do you want to go for dinner tonight? Right. And I'll be like, well, where would you like to go? Because in that moment, for her, I think this is a really good distinction, is because for her, what she needs right in that moment is just to be taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely.
What makes you happy in that moment is not about really where we go. It's more of just, I put the time and the thought and the effort into taking you somewhere. Yeah. Wherever we go, we go.
And we don't have to walk too far in the cold.
In your heels.
My heels.
And you don't have to think about it, right? Because women never shut up in their head. They're constantly thinking. So I learned this from Tamaz, right? In an interesting way. So in the bedroom, she wanted me to decide everything we were going to do, because it was the only time she could switch off. Right. And that made her feel more empowered than when she's having to think about everything all the time. Right. So one of my responsibilities is to make sure she didn't have to think about anything. She could just be, right? She could just be. She would say to me, "You can do anything you want with me in the bedroom, but never disrespect me in front of people," right?
Yeah.
Because she didn't care, right, about it, that situation. It was a way for her. It was a way for her to be free and not have to worry. And I didn't know that. I mean, so she taught me that women are thinking all the time, and anytime they can switch off their mind, they love that, to just be able to turn
I
off.
mean, I love it when we go to a restaurant and I never have to worry about the wine because he knows what I like and I don't have to go through the menu. He'll just order. He knows what beer I like. I mean, food-wise, I can
Appies I'm usually on top of.
But you know, the drinks and whatnot, and now the travel. I've relinquished control of the travel. I used to plan everything, to flights, to hotels. Now he's taken that off my plate, and I'm this damsel in distress. No, I'm not even in distress. I'm just clueless.
No. But it's okay to play those roles, isn't it?
That's right.
Roles. There are female roles and there are male roles.
Yeah.
And for him to know what kind of wine you like, it's like he listens to me.
Mm-hmm.
He knows me. He knows me, and he's taking care of me.
Yeah.
I've got to let him do that. Whereas you open a door for a woman and she slaps you in the face. I'm trying to be a gentleman. I'm trying to open the door. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it does. Women get so offended if, as a gentleman, as a man, you do something to make them feel like a woman, right? To feel appreciated. It's not diminishing them. It's respect, right? But they see it differently. And I think that's one of the challenges we have too. The roles, you know, let's be fair, roles have changed. Right? You guys, we both work and you have to take care of kids. And there's lots of things that both people in a couple didn't used to have to do to make it work. Right? It has changed, but we have to change with the times. You know, one of the biggest things I feel that changed our society, not necessarily for the better, was the pill, where, you know, women had this freedom of sexuality to where, you know, what do they say now? I don't need a man, right? I don't want a man. I don't want to have kids. I don't need a man to have children. But what it does is diminish men, right? It diminishes them. They don't feel appreciated and they feel scared, right? Of women, right? So, and again, other side, women think that some men think that women should be in the kitchen and looking after the kids and not having their own careers and all those kind of things. But we've got to change the way the world has changed, change with it, not try and resist the change. But I think that we've got to a stage, and I think you said this earlier, we're not against each other, right? Men are or women are, it's about who can we be together. Yeah. And not making the other enemy.
We are stronger together. I always say, I led a retreat, a workshop at a retreat, a women's retreat in Tulum.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of the women were like, you're the first woman that wasn't anti-men, we're strong, independent. I was always saying, we are stronger together. We need each other. I need him to open the jar sometimes. Not always, but I do. Right?
See, you are appreciated. You just didn't realize that about the jar.
Purpose,
that's my bigger than me purpose.
My pickled pickles. Yeah. But it is. And I do feel when I need to be held emotionally, he is there. Yeah. You know, it's not just about finances anymore. It's he needs to be that emotional pillar to hold me and understand me, not make me wrong for them, but to absorb and make me feel like he's there no matter what.
And he doesn't need to fix it.
It doesn't need to fix it. Although he tries sometimes. And, you know, but
how's that working? How's that working for him?
Yeah, I mean, we got pretty good at,
I'm just kidding.
Again, at communication. No, it's true.
Yeah.
I always say, when I don't need it, I'm like, babe, I just need you to listen. I just need to vent. I don't need your advice. I don't need to be fixed. I just want to vent. Before, he would have taken it as...
Yeah, well, because that's the thing, because he's learning from you.
Yeah.
Right? He's learning from you. You know, when we were being raised, now I don't know about you. I mean, you're a little bit younger than me. But when we were growing up, we were taught we had to fix everything. It was our job to fix everything, right? So when a woman starts saying there's something wrong, we go into, hey, I got to fix this for her. It's like creating a new habit and we've got to understand women better. You know, everybody thinks they understand the opposite sex. They have no clue, right? What's going on, right? So when you start to learn about men or women or both, right? Then you can understand better, right? What's going on, right? But if the woman just says, you know, leave me alone, I don't want to know, and again, angry, instead of saying, honey, I don't need you to fix everything. I just want you to listen to me now.
Mm-hmm.
That takes courage to say that, right?
The question is like what shifted in our language to each other was, what do you need right now?
Yeah, that's
and
good.
not take it personally, because it's at that moment when I ask him, what do you need right now? And if he says, I need time alone, or I need this, I need that, I don't take it personally. I don't take it where, oh, he doesn't need me, because some people will say, well, you don't need me, then why am I here for?
Well, if he said that and made you think that, you'd say, well, let's see what happens at dinner time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just shocked. I'm kidding, right?
Yeah.
We go back to the importance of learning how to communicate and communicate effectively, because there's a huge part you talk about learning, you know, about the opposite sex or the same sex, but your partner, but it's also about learning about yourself, because when you learn about yourself and you start to realize that, oh, when you don't want me to fix it, me getting upset actually has less about you not wanting me to fix it and more about the fact that it makes me feel like I'm not enough.
Yeah.
Or that that in that moment was a loss of love that I felt, right? Because, right. And then it's like, oh, so that's actually more because of me than on you. And then we talk about those things, right? When we have these little kind of aha moments so that we're aware of how these things show up for each other. So we can just make little micro adjustments in how we communicate. And one of those is, what do you need right now? Yeah. And if the answer is nothing right now, it's also being aware of why. Yeah. So is it why? Because my heart rate right now is, 100 beats per minute or higher, which means that my fight or flight's engaged. All my blood is rushed to my extremities
around these parts.
And so your ability to have a thoughtful, calm, constructive conversation isn't possible. Then okay, so we just need a bit of a break to reset. But if the reason why you're saying is not now is because of avoidance, because to continue the conversation or to engage it is uncomfortable, then that's not a reason to not have it.
When the partner says, you say, is everything okay? Yes, fine. Right? It isn't fine, right? Now, what are you going to say? You're going to either call him a liar, right? Or you're just going to settle, and either way is going to be the wrong thing, right? So, so being open to that communication, and it takes courage, right? It does take courage, right? Because we don't want to hurt the other person. Yeah. But at the same time, there's sometimes, I think both sides probably are guilty of this. I would have said before, maybe women are worse than guys, but women generally want you to figure it out, right? They don't want to tell you what the problem is, because then you're going to just be saying something rather than really feeling and understanding what really needs to be done and said. I could be wrong about that. Maybe you will correct me, but
no, it is true. A lot of women, and I used to be like that, where you should know. Well, how is he supposed to know? He's not a mind reader, and I've never communicated what I wanted. Right. So I always tell friends, my husband's not romantic. I'm like, well, then tell him you want flowers every week, or every 2 weeks at this specific. Well, but I have to tell him. But you're telling him this is what you need, and at some point you will not need to tell him because it's going to become a habit. But if you're just waiting for him to change something that he's not even aware of, you're going to be waiting a long time, and you're going to build that resentment and all this stuff, right? So
it's like
the thing is sometimes, and both sides do this, right? The women will say, how can he not know? He doesn't know that he said that to me earlier today. I'm not telling him he said that. He should know that. He should figure it out, right? And the guy's going, I don't remember saying anything to you this morning, right? So that's, again, where there can be an obstacle. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's not easy. But here's the thing as well. You guys have done a lot of work, right? Obviously, you guys have done a lot of development work.
Yes, we have.
Right? So that's what can make it easier, which is, I guess, why you do what you do, right? Because you want to make it easier for people, because they're very limited on the places they can go and learn this stuff. I mean, you're talking high level stuff, both of you, right? You know that, right? This is not something. This is not something people are going to figure out on their own, right?
Yeah. Well, because there's nothing really, like you said before, nothing. We are not taught the proper way to communicate, to ask for what we need in a way that we're seen and heard from childhood and adulthood. We just take whatever we've been gifted by our parents, our schools, our peers, and then we just mumble jumble it all, and we kind of go through life blindly, and then sometimes wonder, why is this relationship not working? What is this not working out? Because we're not taught to look at ourselves and what our triggers are, what our past traumas have, how they've affected us, to really shift and change, because then we will attract the right type of person. But we need to first heal ourselves. We need to work on ourselves to be able to attract that person that is going to, because whoever is with you is mirroring you, right? And they are mirroring your shadows. They're not mirroring your light. They are definitely there to point those things out that you're not doing, that you should be doing, because you're saying you're going to be doing them, but you're not. So it's, once you heal yourself, you will attract that person because they will mirror back who you are as a human.
Well, I'll agree to disagree a little bit. So sometimes it's not a question of healing, right? So we're all raised by our families in a certain way, and we're all taught by our parents that this is right, this is wrong, this is the way you should behave, this is what you should do. And then you meet someone who grew up in a different household with a different set of rules. And so sometimes the arguments are issues with rules, not because you haven't healed something. Do you know what I mean? So it's really good at some point to figure out, and like Tony used to tell a good story, right? How his wife hated to shout, would not shout or anything, right? So he would try and not shout, and then suddenly something happened and he'd shout and she'd storm out, right? So, but those were rules. Her rules were, you don't shout. His rule as a kid was everybody was shouting and arguing, right? So that's what he saw as the way to deal with the situation. And so that was just a rules issue. And then you've got your values, right? Your values. What do you most? Sometimes people's values are so out of line, it's hard to make it work. So, I mean, it's a lot of things. It's complicated, but it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Absolutely. Yes.
He was letting you.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. It's all about getting an understanding. Now, it doesn't mean you need to not get into, relationships until you got yourself all figured out.
No.
But it's understanding that when you do like somebody, it's about also inquiring with yourself, well, why? Right? Is it because they make me feel better about a part of me that I don't like? Because down the road, that's going to cause a problem if that's the case, right?
And so many people don't make the relationship a priority. They just think it's going to work out. Well, we're married now. You can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. So let's just see what happens, right? Yeah. Instead of working at it, you got to work. It's something you got to do every day. So I did a lot of things right, and I did a lot of things wrong. That's for sure, right? But one of the things I did was I always made sure that at least once a day I told my partner I loved her, right? Or never went a day without telling each other that. I mean, that's about all I did, though. I'm just kidding. I think that was important. So there are certain things that we can do to make it better, and making our partner feel important in your life, I think, is really key, right? Yeah. And I maybe did that too much. I made my partner too much of a priority and gave up too much of myself. So it's a balance, right? You've got to make sure you take care.
Definitely. That is the common theme in relationships. Somebody's given up a lot more for themselves, and then the resentment grows, right? And at some point it breaks, and the other person doesn't see it coming, because they're like, what do you mean? I thought you were happy. I thought we did everything that, we wanted. Again, it's communication.
You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me. I didn't know.
Yeah. The rule for us is this. It's very simple. It's very easy. We are in partnership. we are playing on the same team, on the same court. If he's winning, I'm winning. If he's losing, I'm losing. And
vice versa.
And vice versa. So coming into an argument, coming into a decision, coming into life situations with that mentality where we are on the same team, we want the best for each other and for our family and for this marriage and this relationship, the conversations go a lot smoother because we are on the same team versus playing against each other.
I think that goes along with the idea or the belief that, look, you're going to have disagreements. Yeah. It's impossible not to, unless you're just pushing them all down, which, like you said, is going to build resentment. I think one of the keys, though, is to go into a discussion or a disagreement, not to win, but to understand. Right? I think that's really important, because so many people, whether they realize it or not, either consciously or unconsciously, are going in there, I'm going to be right. And then that's a recipe for disaster, right? It's not, even if you are right, you're still wrong.
Yeah. No, you nailed it, because when you're talking about smooth, to me, smooth is not the absence of conflict. Right? Mm-hmm. We still have discussions that are, emotional on either both sides, one side, but it's even through that, it's knowing that we both want each other to win.
Yeah.
And so the emotion in this conversation isn't about wanting the other person. It's not about being right. It's not the win-lose. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
And that means that then you can have that psychological safety to just talk. Because then in that moment, there's nothing that you can say that's going to cause the team to break apart, because you're committed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, there's a few things you could say. Just kidding. So, just playing around, having fun.
Commitment is a big thing, though. You're right, man. If you're committed, you'll find a way. If you won't, you won't. You won't. You got to be committed, and you got to remember that it's not get married and then that's the end of everything you got to do. It's just the beginning, right?
Don't ever stop courting. Don't stop courting. Don't stop the gestures. Don't stop that part, that piece that.
And that's such a key. I haven't heard that word in a while, but courting, right?
Yeah.
It's so key because I used to say, listen, when you first get together, you've got that, what do you call it? The honeymoon stage. Yeah. But I was always like, I don't want it to end. Right.
Yeah.
Now it's up to us to keep that going. It doesn't have to end. Right. Yeah. We're the only ones that can screw this up.
Mm-hmm.
But then what would happen almost invariably, because this is the way most people are in society, you would start to see them taking me for granted. And then I would start taking them. It's like you start out in the middle of the room and you're like this, right? And then little by slow, that hurt my feelings. Oh, there. And the next thing, you're at either side of the room and you can't remember how you got there, right? And finding your way back can be so difficult. Yeah, I think really appreciating each other.
Yes.
Finding out your love languages, right, is very key. It makes it so much easier. If you're loving people using the wrong languages, like we may as well be speaking Spanish right now, it's not getting through. But that means making an effort. You guys have made, you spent a lot of time working on this stuff, right? But you're blessed now, right? I mean, can you imagine being with somebody that hasn't done the work that you've done?
No.
There's no chance, right? It's never going to work, right?
No.
So, well, kudos to you, first of all, for doing that and doing it together, right? There's so many people that because I've done a lot of personal development events, and, people would come up to me and say, I'm here on my own because my husband doesn't want to do this, right? Not on board. He doesn't even know I'm here. And I can't tell him I spent this money on coming here. That's not good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, I was just going to go back to the courting piece, and it doesn't have to look like what we imagine, right? Like the big gestures. Like this morning, I went to the gym to work out, and he called me and he's like, oh, there's no eggs or milk, but not that he was expecting me to go and get it. He's like, he was just opening the fridge. He's like,
just disappointed. He's just disappointed they weren't there, not blaming you that they weren't. Yeah, yeah.
And I had the choice. I could have just driven home and be like, oh, I'll get it later. But that small gesture of going and turning left instead of right and going and picking up eggs and whatever, that shows I love you. I appreciate you. You know, like those are the little moments that matter, and they compound, you know, in the great scheme of life.
And since we're doing
service,
since we're doing shout outs to ourselves, and then
as soon as we're making ourselves feel good about each other.
Right. Pat on the back.
Before you left for that workout you did this morning, I took the dog out and what did I do? I started the car and turned the heated seat on and the heated steering wheel. So because it's just a little chilly this morning.
That's right.
You guys are making you guys are starting to make me sick. This is bad. Get a room. Get a room for God's sake.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. So, well, we're really excited about your book. Give us a little, Cole's notes, a quick one, and where can people find the book?
Okay, great question. Well, what I've done, I sent you a link, right? That people can get, because they don't know anything about the book, right? So it's where they get the first 3 chapters of the book, so they can decide whether they like it's free, right? And also there's a link if anybody would be interested in getting counseling from a relationship. What's the word about relationship suicide? From someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Now, if anybody's interested in getting coaching, because I have learned a lot over the time, right, from this, getting out of and not letting a toxic relationship in again, right? Then they could get a complimentary coaching session because they're on your podcast. And then the website is vft23.com. And there's all kinds of other stuff on there as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for the time and all your stories and your vulnerability. And just, it was awesome. It was fun. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences in your life and your wisdom with us.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I've had a great time.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights to elevate your life and business.
If you found value in our conversation, spread the love. Share this episode with family and friends, and let's grow this supportive community together.
And don't forget to like and follow us so we can reach more amazing people just like you.
Until next time, remember, let's not sugarcoat it. Keep it real, raw, and unfiltered.